Okay, Kamala Harris is back on the scene.
Standing there, one cannot help but feel the weight of the stakes of what Dr. King confronted. Government-sanctioned segregation and redlining.
So what she's saying is Martin Luther King wouldn't be impressed with what Donald Trump is doing to get out the illegal immigrants.
The vote of the people denied by literacy tests and poll taxes. Churches bombed and people lynched. A child beaten beyond recognition and lain in a casket. Hear what we understand about that moment. Hate and fear were being weaponized by the powerful to terrorize those they saw as powerless. But here's the other truth about that time. The people were sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Well, by the time she finished as vice president, there was 20 million illegal immigrants come over her border. She was in charge of it, completely neglected it. And the trouble that's in America right now is as a result of her vice presidency.
And so at lunch counters and on buses, in classrooms and in the streets, Dr. King and the leaders of that moment reminded the people of their power, reminded them that it doesn't have to be this way, that the power of protest, of organizing, of the collective can change the course of our history and its country, our country and its history.
So she's just in that statement coverting, encouraging the protesters over there at the moment.
In Chicago, isn't that true today? Isn't that true today? I will tell you, standing on the balcony at the Lorraine Motel yesterday, I thought about what Dr. King would see if he looked at America now.
What Dr. Martin Luther King would see is a president trying to clean up a mess that her vice presidency made.
And what would he think? And what would he say? And I do believe he would see that people today are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Well, sick and tired of, and sick and tired of what? By the time she'd finished as vice president, the mess was so bad, as you can see with what ICE is trying to do, it's almost unfixable. What the trouble they're going to just get one person out when you think they were coming over the border by the hundreds. She's made an impossible, her vice presidency and the mess that she made was irreparable. Irreparable. They're not going to repair it. 20 million people, that's almost 2/3 of the population of Australia.
When the president is rigging congressional maps to cheat, when he called a court...
Okay, so she's still going on with the divisive rhetoric, the undermining of the presidency. This is where all the trouble comes from the leftists. They just speak personal, political agendas. See, if the masses are stupid enough to not be able to discern the difference between what's good and what's wrong, then it's going to be on them. But you've got to have the independent ability to be able to go, hang on a minute, this woman is completely in a state, what I call, I made this up myself, opposite directional dysfunction disorder. She can't help but go in the opposite direction to anything that's good.
And crafted a court to gut the Voting Rights Act, to silence our voice when he incites distrust in our election infrastructure. So
there was distrust. There was more than distrust. They were rigging the elections and they got caught. Harris and her lot got caught rigging the elections. So the level of personal denial is it's staggering. It's scary.
People won't vote. Well, folks are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
And they were sick and tired of being sick and tired so bad that they voted Kamala Harris and her lot out. They were voted out. Now, she can talk all the rubbish that she wants and lies and whatnot and try and stir up a insurrection covertly. But people can see through this woman.
When the federal government rips people out of their car.
Right, when the federal government rips people out of their car, we've got to find an example of this. Now, what you've got to understand is these people are blocking the road and they're interfering with federal operations. Now, when they block the road, they're putting people into the ICE agents into a situation where they can be ambushed by real serious haters, right? The serious haters. This is what's going on, right? You've got to look at the full context. These Democrats are only giving you the narrative, but without the details. Now, these people have been blocking, hounding, following, menacing the federal agents. Now they're being told to back up. You can see the traffic's all jammed and blocked. That's because of these people here deliberately doing it. They're deliberately doing it. They're being told to clear the road, clear the streets. But they're not. They're not listening. This woman's been told to move on. She's just not going to do it. Same scenario as Nicole Good, Rebecca Good, just defying the operation of the federal agents. Like how you can clearly see them telling her to move.
Force is not law! Force
You can see her antagonizing them.
is not law! You are not...
She will not move the car. Now, exactly the same thing. They're saying, go, 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 go. So they've realised they've pushed these ICE agents too far. They've had to get to the stage where they've got to take this person physically out of the car because they've obstructed for long enough. They've been told to resolve the problem for long enough. They're not going to. And this is put themselves in a situation where they're going to take them out. You've got the flying monkeys in the background saying now, go, 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 go. And these are the ones blowing the whistles and banging the drums and all the rest of it. So basically what's happened is they've pushed it all too far. Now, it doesn't take, as I've said before in other videos, I was in the bottom class, as bottom as you could go at school. right? Put me in a paddock and I could run rings around them. Put me in a classroom and it was like trying to put it just wasn't where I belonged, right? So what they did was they just said, oh, we'll put him in with the special needs people, which is how the system works. And I hung out with the deaf people and the blind people. They couldn't talk or walk. So, that's how the system works. But I mean, you could have an IQ of 50, right? Which is completely and utterly stupid, and work out exactly what's happened here. Right? If you can't work out what's happened here, then I'm not sure what you're seeing or how you think. Now, you can bend and twist this story to say that she was in the right and they should never have done it, but you don't oppose police orders, particularly if they're federal. So she's pushed these people to the brink. Right, now she's going to be arrested. She doesn't like it now. Now, this is what Kamala Harris is talking about, but did or did not this woman bring it on herself? Of course she did. 100%. 100%. And I'm stupid, right? I'll sit here and say, look, I'm not the most intelligent person around. I'm not putting myself down. I just know that. And I could figure this out in 5 seconds, what's happened here. For the cognitive dissident, personally cognitively dissident political people running their sabotaging insurrectionist agendas, to be able to manipulate people into thinking that this woman's done nothing wrong, just goes to show you don't know who's around you when you're walking around. A lot of these people aren't safe to be in anywhere near. Okay, now all of a sudden she's a victim and all of a sudden she's done nothing and she can't move. What she's forgotten is she's the one blocking the traffic. That all got changed pretty quick. Now she's a disabled person. They're going to bung all this on. They're going to bung on that they were injured, that it was all wrong, it shouldn't have happened. But they've fixed the problem and the problem's being taken away. Now you'll see the flying monkeys, they'll get clicked, it's all clickbait. Whether they're going to tell the truth about what just happened or not. See, what they're trying to do, they're trying to play the federal agents as evil. Right? There's not a police officer in sight. There's no one there to help. The police officers should be clearing away the crowds. But that's not how this agenda works. Where's the local police? That's what I'd like to know. Where are they? It's like a pack of hyenas attacking a lion. Have you ever seen that?
And a lion, and yet they often end up fighting to steal from each other. In the African wilderness, these two apex rivals have been at war for millions of years, and when their paths cross, the savannah becomes a battleground. Get ready to witness the most incredible, brutal, and strategic fights between lions and hyenas ever caught on camera. Let's dive in. A male lion stands his ground, fighting off an entire hyena clan by himself to defend his territory. Surrounded by the snarling pack, he doesn't flinch, taking them all on alone. He suddenly launches a brutal attack on an injured hyena, which barely manages to limp away. The clan rushes in to protect their fallen member, but it's already too late. Moments.
That's what the ICE agents are dealing with. Look, they're just hyenas trying to harass the lions, which are trying to help the nation. You know how the Roman Empire was part of one of the major ways in which it was annihilated was immigration. That was part of the downfall of the Roman Empire. Immigration. Look it up. Okay, so you can see the hyena-like behaviour going on around these agents. And this is what Harris and Walsh, Frey, these other ones are all encouraging. Let me point out again, viewers, there is no sign of the local police. Now just think for a minute, these people, I don't know if this is one of the illegal immigrants, but it's definitely somebody that's pushed the ICE agents to the limit. Look how hard it is to arrest one person. These people were coming across the border in thousands, in the thousands. Okay, and this Kamala Harris has got the hide to get up there and make out like something's wrong. No, these people are wrong. Kamala Harris's message is wrong.
Out of their home, out of their church. When families are separated and a mother of 3 is shot and killed by an ICE agent in Minneapolis.
Now, see how she's told the half-truth. She's told the half-truth in the negative. This is how churches and organisations get destroyed. It's called a fox in amongst the vines. Right? You got a fox in amongst the vines. What she's doing is undermining the government, the federal government. right? She's telling the headline but not the story. And anybody with half a brain could tell that that woman was asked to stop, she was asked to get out of the car, and her partner, or I don't know what she was, told her to drive, baby, drive, which we heard in this example here. She drove towards a federal agent and he shot her. Simple as that. She broke the law. Now she ain't going to say that. She's going to make out the ICE agents just shot her for the sake of it. Right? So that's a political agenda. That's a way of undermining the authority of the government. And people in congregations do this to ministers, and it's just the bad side of human nature.
People are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
You know what people are really sick and tired of? They're sick and tired of these people that are telling half-truths, manipulating the minds of people that obviously can't think for themselves, putting people on the wrong track, leading them astray for their own evil ways. That's what she's doing.
When our differences are treated as danger, when neighbors see one another as the enemy, and when social media and misinformation take hold of our lives.
Social media and misinformation, she's standing up there with misinformation right now.
And the lives of our children, well, people are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Not a good message. She's going the lives of our children. The Somalis in Minnesota have stolen billions, tens of billions of dollars in the name of helping children, which they didn't help. Again, another headline without the truth.
When rising costs and stagnant wages force working families to choose between rent or medicine, between childcare or groceries, between dignity or survival, people are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
It's easy to have this slogan, but let's get to the truth of it. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump delivered this talk on the 14th of the 1st, 2026, a couple of days ago.
Now, after less than 12 months in office, I'm back in Michigan to report to you on the strongest and fastest economic turnaround in our country's history. It's really been historic. There's never been, we're not 12 months, we're through 11 months. We've got $18 trillion being invested in our country. The most of any country ever was 3. We're at 18. There's never been anything like this. You are so lucky I allow you into this room to even be with me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The fake news will say Donald Trump thinks he's hot stuff. Right now I'm feeling pretty good, though, I will say. Oh, you're so lucky to be here. Under our administration, growth is exploding, productivity is soaring, investment is booming, incomes are rising, inflation is defeated, America is respected again like never before, and other than that, we're not doing that well. Now think of all those things I just said. Every single, inflation down, growth at an all-time high, stock market every day, 48 days in a row, 48 days during the course of 11 months, we hit a new high on the stock market, all of them. 1 year ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world. That was said to me by many leaders. By almost every metric, we have quickly gone from the worst numbers on record to the best and strongest numbers, the most dynamic numbers, and an economy that is far ahead of even my optimistic. I had a very optimistic schedule, I thought. I didn't think it was, but people said it was very optimistic. Turns out to be very pessimistic by compared to what we've done. But we'll go down as the greatest in history, greatest first year in history nobody's ever had, just based on the numbers, based only on the numbers, not based on me, based only on the numbers. Because, you get these guys like the governor of California likes to say how well he's doing. California's doing horrendously, but he says how well. We base it on numbers. There's never been numbers like this. Through 4 long years before I took office, crooked Joe Biden and his allies in Congress inflicted the economic nightmare known as stagflation. How many times have you heard the word? We hit it with Joe. We hit everything. What a disaster. Meaning low growth and high inflation. How does that work? Not good. So you have lousy growth and high inflation. In fact, it's the lowest growth ever and the worst inflation in the history of our country. That is really tantamount to not having a good 4 years, right? In other words, Sleepy Joe and the people that ran the auto pen were a complete and total disaster for our nation. They were a disaster for our nation. Had they won the election less than 1 year ago, we would have been, as I've often said, Venezuela on steroids. Now I'm Venezuela's biggest fan. We're working with them, but they came down from a very high number to a disaster, a disaster. And we would have been Venezuela on steroids, and we're bringing Venezuela back, and we're going to be great for Venezuela, great for our country. We're taking in, as I said, millions and millions of barrels of oil, and now they're coming in initially on a daily basis, 50 million, and values of over $5 billion. That's in one day. Just think of it, the biggest ships in the world can take 1 million barrels. The biggest ships in the world take 1 million. We have 50 million barrels. We need 50 of the biggest ships in the world just to get it out. We're bringing it in to be refined. It's an incredible feeling. It's great. Winning is a good thing. We're going to work with Venezuela. We'll make that country very strong again. We'll get oil prices down even further. We have it down at about a 6-year low, 7-year low, but we're going to get it down further. Joe Biden gave us a colossal stagflation catastrophe, but my administration...
That was U.S. President...
Are you getting the picture? These people are lying.
And when the President of the United States calls the civil rights movement, quote, reverse discrimination, we are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
So being sick and tired, viewers, is basically her way of saying we can't win. We're sick and tired of losing. We can't win because their ways don't work. They're sick and tired of seeing the government that beat them succeed. They don't have the answers. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to fix the problem, which is themselves. See, if you can't fix the problem within yourself, how are you going to fix the problem within your country? You're not. Tammy.
Now, I know many people in our country are feeling overwhelmed right now. Isolation and loneliness have led to despair.
Well, whose fault's that? It's definitely not Donald Trump's.
Broken system has fueled cynicism and, yes, apathy.
Cynicism. Isn't that interesting? She's standing there in cynicism, saying that cynicism's the problem.
And people are rightly angry and profoundly frustrated. Far too many have resigned themselves that, well, I guess it's just going to be this way. All while those in power attempt to divide the American people.
No, see, I mean, once you see through the political bedspread and look under the sheets, as it were, or you get past the icing on the cake, these people are actually dangerous, very, very dangerous.
attempt to make us distrust each other, to turn on each other, all while having us believe we are powerless in this moment. But let's pause.
Well, the fact of the matter is, when it comes to law and doing the right thing, they are powerless.
For a minute, to see the echoes of history.
Okay, the echoes of history as far as Kamala Harris is concerned, relative to a vice presidency, isn't very good at all. Here's just a couple of the negatives of the Kamala Harris turnout. She had a weak public standing, long stretches of poor polling. Number two, what did she actually do? There was a problem about unclear portfolio and low visibility. Number three, she was the border czar and she completely failed as the political anchor. Number four, high staff turnover, internal dysfunction stories about the way she treated her staff. Number five, messaging discipline and headline making moments. She just was awkward and unclear publicly at times. No major signature wins. The vice president rarely get to press their laws, but critics argued she lacked a defining achievement. Number seven, policy positioning. Flip-flop attacks followed her into the vice president years. Number eight, relationship with the White House narrative undermined, boxed in. Number nine, some negatives were just biased attacks, still politically damaging. So not much there to really help Kamala Harris in what she did. This was a terrible moment in her attempt to become president.
And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world. The first time this century. What? But let's understand.
So where the fuck are we right now?
And as of
So she completely blew that. That probably contributed to the fact that she didn't know what she was talking about. So let's get this over and done with.
the threats we face, but also the power of the people. Let us see. Let us see. Like then, this is a moment not to throw up our hands, but a moment to roll up our sleeves, to organize, to register people to vote, and to speak and act with truth, power, and conviction. And I look around.
She might have a little bit of trouble with the truth part, but the power and conviction, she's still going, despite a complete demoralizing in the last election.
This room, I know the people of Chicago, well, you uniquely understand that the fight requires courage. It requires stamina. And it requires commitment. It requires us to show up even when we are sick and tired. Because we are sick and tired.
I think in the end they were sick and tired of each other,
So
the
to
Democrats.
the leaders here, I say, let us continue to be clear-eyed. They may want us to be afraid.
See, it's a them and us. This is how nations collapse. It becomes them and us. Let's see what she finishes with.
To be divided, to be silent. But we won't give them that satisfaction. We will continue the fight with determination, with resilience, and dare I say, with joy.
Just a couple of flashbacks on Kamala Harris.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw is about 2%.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur, Anderson.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything. We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
It's like she's a perfect combination of dumb and evil. She's the perfect Democrat at this point. She says nothing. She laughs in places she's not supposed to laugh. She, in essence, she's saying, I want to build a wall now. And she's saying Trump's flaw is that he didn't build a wall.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
Here's just this is a 13-second great moment of her just absolute being caught in a lie. It's wonderful.
There's one other topic I wanted to talk to you about, but let me just quickly put a button.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, I mentioned it because I know Republicans have certainly come at you on this, but Democratic Congressman Cuellar has a border district has said to you and the president, come. You need to see this.
Listen, I care about what's happening at the border. I'm in Guatemala because my focus is dealing with the root causes of migration. There may be some who think that is not important, but it is my firm belief that if we care about what's happening at the border, we better care about the root causes and address them. And so that's what I'm doing.
I don't need to do more on that. Here, an undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
Primary reason do you think that you lost?
There are many factors, I think, that played into the outcome of that election. But I think probably one of the biggest in my mind is we just didn't have enough time. And, one of the reasons I wrote the book is this is unprecedented. Think about this. Yeah. That there's a race for president of the United States. The current sitting president is running for re-election. 3.5 months from the election, he decides not to run. The sitting vice president then takes the mantle, running against a former president of the United States who had been running for 10 years with 107 days until the election. And by the way, another piece of what is unprecedented and a bit historical about that race, it is the closest presidential race in the 21st century in terms of the outcome.
Well, look at the map, because the map doesn't look that close. That's pretty freaking red. 312 electoral votes to 226. Okay, thank you for your little history lesson there. But lady, you were the one that cooed the auto pen man, right? He did not want to step down. He sat in that very chair on that stupid show and said to them, I didn't want to step down. That's what he said. Joy, oh my God, yes, you just needed more. Yes, because if we had just had 2 more months of Kamala, if we had done 2 more months of hearing about concentric circles and Russia big and Ukraine small and telling us that we're all racist and explaining why she wants a Marxist revolution, I would have probably come around. It was a time issue for me. You know what I mean? I was like kind of getting there, and it's like, I just need a couple more days.
Well, it's about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff.
Huh? Do you believe in the mandatory buyback of quote-unquote assault weapons? And whether or not you do, how does that idea not go against fundamentally the Second Amendment?
Yeah, great question. I do believe that we need to do buybacks. They are weapons of war with no place on the streets of a civil society. I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country. But we still have to deal with the over 2 million assault weapons that are currently in the streets of America. And so a buyback program is a good idea. I will give the United States Congress 100 days. We need an assault weapons ban. Finally pass red flag laws.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Crazy woke world of celebrities. Rita, let's have some more Kamala.
Well, we can't get enough of Kamala. Here she is arriving at a university, and I always suspect when I see her these days, she's been to happy hour.
Closest election for President of the United States in the 21st century.
Wow, I know that's right. And a Howard grad did that here.
And a Howard grad did.
So she's at Howard University repeating lies that everyone there is too stupid to correct her on. It was not the closest in the 21st century.
Definitely.
She lost every swing state. She won the Electoral College by an enormous margin, and she even lost the popular vote. First time a Republican has won the popular vote in, 20 years? So she's repeating a verifiable lie. Yes. And those university academics and students...
I think I don't think it was a happy hour. I think it was a happy 90 minutes. It was definitely...
Well, look, I just thought, I take your point that they were all sort of backing her in and clapping her in, but I felt like it was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, your Uber's here. Come on, let's get you in the Uber. Time to go. Yeah.
Cool. Great fun. Serena Williams was mentioned by Rita.
Fireside chat with former ABC presenter Lee Sales. Now, it is a women's leadership event, and I love that the organisers have come out saying that the theme will be redefining possibilities. That's a direct quote. And let's face it, it has all the hallmarks of a Harris word salad. So we thought it was a perfect time to play a greatest Harris hits.
The children of the community are the children of the community. You need to get to go and need to be able to get where you need to go to do the work and get home. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present.
Now, I've got a few thoughts about this, but she's obviously been under a lot of fire for the Pete Buttigieg comments, saying that she didn't pick him as his running mate because he was gay. And she's tried to spin that in a way, but that's such an unconscionable, gross thing to say. And I think we've actually got the grab. Let's have a listen.
To be a black woman running for president of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk.
Now, Gabriella, I guarantee you that she's not asked about that. Absolutely appalling comments. I almost guarantee you that they gloss over it. It's a big love-in. It's about redefining whatever. These kind of buzzwords. What's going on?
The Pete Buttigieg thing, I think, is really disgusting because she suggests in her book that she wanted to pick Pete Buttigieg, but she couldn't because he was a gay man, suggesting that the majority of Americans are homophobic and hiding behind this
Well, she thought he was a net negative in terms of a value proposition because of his sexuality. She personally thought that.
She said that. And what does that tell you about Kamala Harris as a leader? If she really believed that he was the best person for the job and she was too afraid to pick him, it shows that she's a weak leader. And I like what Pete Buttigieg had to say, which was that you should give Americans more credit than that, rather than just smearing them, suggesting that all these voters are homophobic. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that clip that you just played on MSNBC while she's interviewed by Rachel Maddow, she denies that she suggests it. And then within 30 seconds, she is admitting that that is exactly what she suggested in her book when she said she couldn't pick Pete Buttigieg. And she ends up picking Tim Walz. I mean, what a disaster that was. Tim Walz was speaking about Kamala Harris's book earlier in the last 24 hours, and I should say, acknowledged that Kamala Harris had the right to criticise him in the book, but said that he might have let Kamala Harris down because he's too nice a guy. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And Kamala Harris's book, 107 Days, is just as pathetic as that. She blames everyone else around her, takes no responsibility, doesn't take any responsibility for lying to the American people about Biden's health, about opening the border. She writes in her book about the fight she got into with her husband because he didn't get her a good enough birthday present. He didn't bring her a towel. I mean, just such waffle. That's what she writes about.
Maybe I will have to have a read.
If you'd like to.
Do you have a copy?
I don't have a copy to give you, unfortunately. But just keep watching her clips. The thing about Kamala Harris is the more you watch her, this is certainly true in the election campaign, the more Americans watched her, the less they liked her.
The more exposure, the more no depth.
100%.
No integrity, no
because she had
character.
the honeymoon period. When Biden first dropped out and then she jumped in.
Oh, they tried.
His celebrities were getting
They
around
wanted to make her a thing.
The polls were going in her favour, in her direction.
And then she spoke.
In the space of 107 days.
And it had nothing to do with her identity as a woman or like what her minority status was. It was to do with what she was saying. And the left really struggles with that. They're basically trying to create candidates who are these perfect identitarian mixtures to strategically win demographics at the election. And that's what she's alluded to here. Anyway, moving on because...